So, Sanguine are the last team carrying the international flag, the squad that came out of nowhere from the minor league to suddenly be with the big boys here in the SPL.
Sanguine's getting a real shot this year. The organisation themselves are having the opportunity to join the Pro League for the first time, and they're actually bringing along the LATAM team with them. It's going to cause a couple of waves with this because a lot of people, well, they may expect this team to flounder a little bit or not be good enough.
Sanguine's coming to the SPL. Full stop. All 5 members still together. This is their test, man. This is what people have been waiting for. And I'm curious to see how it's going to go. I think that each player individually has a lot of strengths, but we haven't seen them against the best of the best in competition yet.
This is all about Sanguine LATAM. They're going to DreamHack. They booked a place and damn well deserve it.
Let the light be the judge.
Netrioid, the hunter player, absolute beast in the 1v1, but his god pool is a little bit eclectic at times.
I think Shinto's kind of the star player, but Netroid's the one that's getting all the work done that maybe doesn't always make those highlight plays. But Netroid's never gonna do anything wrong for your squad either. He knows where to be, he knows how to position, and his god pool's varied enough that you can't ban him out easily. He'll play some weird stuff, but he'll also play a lot of the meta stuff that everyone else does.
Now, as a player, I actually do think he's got the ability to be in the Pro League. He's very aggressive and can play up and also play when he's down. If he's behind and really struggling, he has a good attitude towards what he wants to do in the game.
He likes to play AMC and Freya and gods that you don't really see other hunter players playing a whole lot of. That's not to say he can't play the Hachimans and the Jingweis and things like that. He's very proficient with those as well, but he's definitely gotten this identity of a player who's willing to pick outside the box and then do very, very well with it.
I think the kid's got a lot of talent, but it's going to be a really rough pull for him this year. The other hunters are looking very, very strong, and it's really up to him to find his position against the other hunters and what he's going to be able to perform there this year.
Look at him, made a great blink in from Wrong You, presence of mind. I saw his ult and I was like,
Of everyone on Sanguine, I feel like Rongyu's the one that can be the most hit or miss sometimes. He makes the big plays that save team fights, but then he can also get a bit tunnel visioned in and end up chasing fights in bad directions or getting picked on his own.
I love Rongyu's playstyle. He can play the aggressive supports, but also the defensive ones as well. He very much is a role player, and Season 6 was all about that sort of middle ground for the supports, where they may have to play aggressive and they may have to play passive, depending on the situation.
When Rongyu's doing his best, it's because he's playing Naja, Erlong Shen, gods that are gonna get in the enemy's face. Horus was a big pick for him last year. And I think that keeping that identity is going to be key, but difficult, because SPL players have been playing against guys like Aurora and PBM, guys who have perfected that aggressive play style for a long time now, and Rongyu's gonna have to make that adjustment to be able to play at that high level.
If Rongyu brings that bottom end up even just a little bit, he could be one of the top supports because his playmaking potential is off the charts.
Are able to grab the objective, but Shinto gets the kill.
Undoubtedly, the star player for the Sanguine roster is Shinto in the mid lane. This guy does just about everything you could want your mid laner to do.
Shinto in the mid lane is the guy that I'm the most confident is ready for this level of play.
What else can I say about Shinto? The guy's been around for almost the entirety of the existence of Smite. The kid's been from the early days of the Lich T and the Dragon S, all the way up now to getting a shot at the Pro League. And the players around the scene, around the Pro era, know him and know he's a real danger in that middle lane role.
Everyone I talk to in the SPL always says that Shinto is the guy for this team. He is going to be a star at the next level. It's just a matter of how well can he continue to grow alongside his team and be ready for those challenges that Season 7 is going to bring.
There goes Panatom, has the Freedom Weaver, they're locking down.
Panatom in the jungle is probably one of the bigger question marks for Sanguine, and that's saying a lot because he's not that much of a question mark.
Triple
I'm excited to see how he performs because this kid from Guatemala, he's only 18 years old. And at only 18, he's making waves in his performances. Throughout the entirety of the Smite League so far, he's basically been one of these junglers that can really adapt to the situations thrown at him.
I just like watching this guy play Smite because he's always swinging for the fences. It feels like if he's on Unbots, he's looking for the big blink, fear no evil to get 3 people, not just 1. If he's always looking for, I don't think the right word to say is like the greedy play, but he wants the game-changing play. And I think that's what you want your jungler to be doing. You want your jungler to have their eyes on what's the best case scenario for us in a team fight.
Similar to Netrioid, he has a little bit of a more eclectic god pool. He wants to play things like Arachne from time to time. He played that a lot towards the beginning of the last year. He can clearly play a bunch of different play styles and is the exact type of glue guy you need when your team identity is playing really, really well as 5 members.
Jakor has always kind of been a linchpin for this Sanguine roster through the years. He's a solo lane performer that can just steady the ship and do what he needs to do in the laning phase, sometimes even finding some solo kills here and there. Coming from Colombia, he's always had some issues with trying to get over to the LAN performances with visa issues, and I'm hoping he gets a chance to do that this year in the Pro League and show just really what he's made of against some of the best talent in the world.
Yarkor is exactly what you want out of your solo laner. He gets to the back line and he sits on top of those enemy carries and makes life hard for him.
During the regular season, he was super impressive, known as one of the more skilled members of this Sanguine team. Usually you hear him talked about in the same level of Shinto, where they are stars of the roster. But we didn't get to see Yarkor at LAN at all last year. The rest of the Sanguine boys got a lot of LAN experience, made it to the World Championships. That's very valuable. Yarkor had some visa issues and was unable to come to those LANs. So that is a bit of a question mark for me.
He wasn't able to make it to Worlds last year. He still felt like a part of that team to me. Every time I talked to them, they mentioned Yarkor having their back in scrims, reminding them to be on top of their timers and stuff they would forget sometimes in games that were a big deal. He never once counted out that team. He was there for them. Now they're gonna have that outside the game aspect, plus the player they know they can trust to make big rotations out of the solo lane and to never fall behind.
Last year, Sanguine did a lot to prove that they are ready for this jump, this exact moment of them moving from the minor league up to the SPL, ready to compete at that level for a full calendar year. And that's what they've been working towards. And they've certainly earned it, but that doesn't mean that we should be ready to hand them the trophy.
This Sanguine roster is one of the few rosters that have stayed the same. Even the world champions lost Sam for Soccer from that team. They're gonna come back with a different look. So we have a chance to see if maybe all that synergy they've built up over 2 years of playing together, it can be a difference maker here when everyone else is still getting into the groove.
I think Sanguine's going to go through some growing pains. I think that they might come out of the gates hot, then regress a little bit, start to struggle, and then hopefully they can start putting it together towards the end of the year. That's usually the trend we see with players who come up from the SML that are very talented, and I don't see why that wouldn't extend to a full team without seeing them compete consistently. Yes, they've proven that they can play at the SPL level for a weekend or a week, but they haven't done it for a month or 2 months or 6 months. I think the consistency is going to be a big key for them. How well is Yarkor going to compete at that SPL level? I think he's very talented. I think he can definitely do it, but gotta show it before we're willing to sign on. I think this Sanguine team has a lot of potential. Definitely a dark horse to upset a lot of teams.
I don't know if there's a team that's hungrier than this roster, man. Every time we talk to them, they look like they have that drive to win. Like they believe 100% that if you just give them the opportunity, if they just get to play right there with the big boys, then they could be up at the top. This is a team that never gives up. If they get their matches dragged to 60 minutes, those 5 players, let me count Oxy, the coach, in there too, those 6 guys all think that they can still come back and win it. So if you want to beat this team, you got to put them to bed quick or they might bounce back.